General Kethvar walked into the massive meeting hall with heavy steps. His forearms moved nervously at his sides as he looked around the room. The Imperial War Council sat at their curved table, their crystal skin glowing with different colors. Emperor Vashtok sat at the center, his golden crown reflecting the bright lights above. Kethvar had fought in wars for over 50 years. His body showed the marks of battle, scars across his crystal chest, one arm that moved slower than the others, and eyes that had seen too much death. But today, he felt more afraid than he had in any battle. "Your Excellency," Kethvar said as he bowed low. The Emperor leaned back in his chair and smiled. "Problem? What problem could those weak creatures cause us?" Around the table, other generals laughed. Admiral Thex Moore spoke up first. "The humans barely know how to fly between stars. They live on just a few small worlds. They are nothing." Kethvar felt his hearts beating faster. "You are wrong. I have fought with them. I have seen what they can do." The room grew quiet. Emperor Vashtok's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Two. Kethvar took a deep breath. 20 years ago, during the Outer Rim conflicts, I commanded a mixed fleet. Half were our ships, half were human ships. We fought against the pirate clans that were attacking trade routes. He paused and looked around the room. The other generals were listening now, but he could see doubt in their faces. "The pirates had us trapped in the Nexus system. Our fleet was damaged. We were running out of supplies. Any normal species would have surrendered or retreated. But the humans..." Kethvar shook his head. "The humans did something I had never seen before." "What did they do?" the Emperor asked. "They turned their cargo ships into bombs. They stripped the armor from their destroyers to make the engines faster. They sent soldiers in small ships to board pirate vessels, knowing most would die. In 3 days, they turned a hopeless battle into total victory." Admiral Thex Moore laughed again. "Suicide attacks? That proves they are stupid, not dangerous." Kethvar's crystal skin turned dark red with anger. "You do not understand. It was not suicide. It was strategy. Every human who died for a reason. They counted the cost and decided it was worth paying. That is what makes them dangerous." The Emperor stood up from his throne. He was taller than everyone else in the room, and his crown made him look even bigger. "General Kethvar, you have served the Empire well for many years. But I think your old age is making you see threats where none exist. Your Excellency, please listen to me," Kethvar said, stepping forward. "I have studied human history. They have been fighting wars on their home planet for thousands of years. Every weapon we use, every strategy we know, they invented first. They have tested these things on each other for so long that war is like breathing to them." The room erupted in noise as all the generals began talking at once. Some laughed. Others shouted that Kethvar was a coward. The Emperor raised one hand, and everyone fell silent. "General Kethvar," the Emperor said slowly, "are you telling me that these humans, who have trouble building proper warships, who live in just one small part of the galaxy, are more dangerous than our empire? An empire that controls 40% of all known worlds?" Kethvar felt his hope dying. "Yes, Your Excellency. If we attack them, if we push them into a corner, they will show us what real war looks like. And I fear we will not survive the lesson." The Emperor looked around the table at his other generals. "What does the War Council think?" One by one, each general stood and voted to invade human space. They talked about the rich mining worlds humans controlled. They spoke of the need to show other species that the Empire was still strong. They said it would be an easy victory that would bring glory and wealth. Kethvar watched and felt sick. When the last vote was cast, the Emperor turned back to him. "General Kethvar, you are no longer welcome in this war council. Your rank is stripped, You will leave the capital world and never return. Perhaps some time away will cure your fear of these harmless humans." Guards stepped forward to escort Kethvar from the room. As they led him away, he turned back one last time. "Your Excellency, when the humans come for you, remember this day. Remember that someone tried to warn you." The Emperor waved his hand dismissively. "Take him away." Far away, in a different part of the galaxy, Admiral Sarah Chen sat in her office on the space station above New Geneva Colony. She was reading intercepted messages that her intelligence team had decoded. The Zelrani Empire was planning to attack human space. Sarah was the great-great-granddaughter of one of Earth's most famous military leaders. She had studied every major war in human history. She knew what happened when someone attacked humans without understanding what they were truly capable of. She pressed a button on her desk. "Get me a secure line to Fleet Command on Earth." While she waited for the connection, Sarah looked out the window at the peaceful colony below. Families lived there. Children played in the parks. Soon, all of that might be in danger. But the Zelrani Empire had made a mistake. They thought humans were weak because they had never seen humans truly angry. That was about to change. The Zelrani war fleet was the largest anyone had ever seen. 5,000 ships moved through space like a dark cloud, blocking out the stars behind them. Admiral Thex Moore stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the screens that showed human space ahead. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "we are receiving signals from the human colonies. They appear to be evacuation broadcasts." Thex Moore smiled, showing his sharp crystal teeth. "Excellent. They are already running away. This will be easier than we thought." The first human outpost was called Frontier Station. It was built around a large asteroid and was home to 50,000 people. When the Zelrani fleet arrived, the station's defenses fired at them for only 10 minutes before going silent. "Sir," the weapons officer reported, "the station has stopped firing. We are detecting escape pods launching from all sections." "Let them run," Thex Moore said. "We want the mining equipment intact. Send boarding teams to secure the station." 20 Zelrani ships moved close to the station. They attached docking tubes and sent soldiers inside. For an hour, everything seemed normal. The Zelrani troops reported that the humans had left behind valuable equipment and supplies. Then the station exploded. The blast was so huge that it destroyed 3 Zelrani ships completely and damaged 10 others. Thex Moore watched in shock as pieces of the station flew past his flagship. "What happened?" he demanded. His science officer was checking the readings. "Admiral, they turned the entire mining operation into a bomb. The fusion reactors that powered the mining lasers were overloaded. The humans planned this." Thex Moore felt a cold feeling in his stomach, but he pushed it away. A desperate trick. Continue the advance. The next target was the colony world of Haven. It was a small planet where humans grew food for other colonies. The Zelrani fleet surrounded the planet and demanded surrender. The response came from the planetary governor, a human woman named Director Martinez. Her face appeared on the main screen, calm and unafraid. "We surrender," she said simply. "Our defenses are down. Please do not harm our civilians." Thex Moore was pleased. Finally, the humans were showing sense. He sent a large force to the planet's surface to take control. The human cities looked empty. The Zelrani soldiers found that the humans had gathered in large refugee camps outside the cities. They seemed scared and defeated. The Zelrani commander reported that the planet was secure. 3 days later, as Zelrani ships were loading food supplies from the planet's farms, the refugee camps attacked. What the Zelrani had thought were scared civilians were actually human soldiers in disguise. They had spent 3 days watching and learning about Zelrani equipment. When they attacked, they used farming tools that had been modified into weapons. Tractors became mobile artillery. Crop harvesters were turned into troop carriers, with armor welded on. Even more shocking to the Zelrani, the humans seemed to know exactly how to disable Zelrani equipment. The battle lasted only 6 hours. But when it was over, the entire Zelrani ground force was dead or captured. The humans had lost many people too, but they had won. Thexmor was furious. He ordered his fleet to destroy the planet from orbit. But when his ships tried to fire, nothing happened. The humans had somehow disabled his weapons systems. Director Martinez appeared on his screen again. "Admiral, your ships have been infected with a computer virus. Our surrender included time for our technical teams to get close to your vessels. Your weapons will not work for 24 hours. Thexmor realized that every part of the human surrender had been a lie. They had used his own victory against him. The pattern continued at every human world. Each time, the humans seemed to lose quickly. Each time, they left behind traps that killed hundreds of Zelrani soldiers. Ships that looked damaged would explode when Zelrani crews came aboard. Asteroid mining stations would launch themselves at Zelrani vessels like giant bullets. Most disturbing of all, the humans never seemed to care about their own safety. Zelrani soldiers were taught to value their lives and fight carefully. But humans would throw themselves at Zelrani positions, trading their lives to kill just one enemy soldier. After 3 months of fighting, the Zelrani fleet had advanced deep into human space. But they had lost over 1,000 ships. Thexmor sent regular reports to Emperor Vashtok, but he never mentioned how many Zelrani had died. "The humans fight like wild animals," he reported. "They use terrorist tactics and show no honor in battle. But we are winning. Their colonies fall before us." What Thexmor did not understand was that Admiral Sarah Chen was watching every battle from her command ship. Each fight was planned. Each retreat was designed to pull the Zelrani fleet further from their supply lines. On a neutral space station far from the war, Kethvar watched the news reports. He could see what was really happening. The humans were not running away. They were leading the Zelrani into a trap. He tried to send messages to Admiral Thexmor, warning him that the humans were using an ancient Earth strategy called defense in depth. Every human loss was making the Zelrani weaker, while the main human fleet remained hidden and intact. But Thexmor ignored all messages from the disgraced general. Sarah Chen smiled as she reviewed the latest battle reports. The Zelrani fleet was now 6 months away from their home territory. They were tired, confused, and angry. Their supply lines were stretched thin, and they had lost so many ships that they could no longer properly defend themselves. It was almost time to show the Zelrani Empire what humans could really do when they stopped pretending to be weak. The next phase of her plan would be very different from what had come before. Soon, the hunters would become the hunted. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center of her flagship, the Earth's Hammer. Around her, screens showed the positions of every human ship in the galaxy. For 6 months, she had watched the Zelrani fleet push deeper into human space. Now, it was time to push back. "All units. This is Admiral Chen," she said, into her communications device. "Operation Homecoming begins now." Across human space, thousands of ships began to move. But these were not normal warships. The humans had learned long ago that in real war, everything could be a weapon. Captain Rodriguez commanded what used to be a cargo ship called the Lucky Strike. His crew had spent 3 months welding armor plates to the hull and filling the cargo holds with explosives. Now it looked like a giant metal spike flying through space. "Target acquired," Rodriguez said as his ship approached a Zelrani destroyer. "All crew to escape pods." The Zelrani captain saw the cargo ship coming but was not worried. Cargo ships had no weapons. He did not even try to avoid it. The Lucky Strike hit the Zelrani ship at full speed. The explosion destroyed both vessels. But Rodriguez and his crew had already escaped in small pods. They were picked up an hour later by another human ship. This scene played out hundreds of times across the war zone. Human cargo ships, mining vessels, and even passenger liners had all been turned into weapons. The Zelrani could not understand how humans could throw away such expensive ships, but the humans were not throwing them away. They were trading them for something more valuable. Zelrani ships that took years to build and could not be quickly replaced. Admiral Thexmore watched his fleet shrink day by day. Every time his ships moved, humans attacked them with weapons that made no sense. Asteroids with engines attached to them flew at his vessels like giant bullets. Old space stations broke apart and launched their pieces at his fleet. "Admiral," his communications officer said, sounding frightened, "we are receiving a transmission from the humans. They want to speak with you." On the main screen, Admiral Chen's face appeared. She looked calm and professional, like someone discussing a business deal rather than a war. "Admiral Thexmore," she said politely, "I am Admiral Sarah Chen, commander of human forces in this sector. I wanted to discuss your situation. You are losing this war, human." Thexmore replied angrily, "We have captured dozens of your worlds." Chen smiled. "Have you? Let me show you something." Ten smiled. The screen split to show a map of Zelrani space. Red dots began appearing, marking locations throughout the Empire. "While you have been fighting us here," Chen said, "my strike teams have been visiting your territory. Those red dots are Zelrani military bases, shipyards, and supply depots that no longer exist." Thexmore felt his crystal skin turn pale. "Impossible. Our home defenses would have stopped any attack. And your home defenses were designed to stop fleets of warships," Chen explained. "We did not send warships. We sent cargo containers full of explosives, launched from ships disguised as merchant traders. We sent technical teams who posed as repair crews and planted bombs in your shipyards. We used your own trade routes against you." The screen showed video footage of massive explosions at Zelrani facilities. Shipyards that had built vessels for centuries were now twisted metal and fire. "You wanted to fight humans," Chen continued. "Now you are learning what that really means. We do not just fight with our military. Every human is a soldier when they need to be. Every tool is a weapon. Every ship is a bomb." Thexmore tried to contact his home base for orders, but the communications were filled with static. The humans had somehow disrupted the quantum relay networks that connected his fleet to the Empire. "Admiral," his science officer reported quietly, "long-range sensors show human ships throughout our supply lines. They are not attacking our cargo vessels. They are capturing them." Chen's voice continued from the speakers. "We have been studying your language, your technology, and your culture for months. We know how your ships work, how your government operates, and how your people think. But you know almost nothing about us." This was true. The Zelrani had always believed that humans were too simple to be worth studying. They had never bothered to learn about human history, human technology, or human ways of fighting. "You made a mistake when you decided to invade our space," Chen said. "You thought we were weak because we live quietly and do not bother our neighbors. But humans have been fighting wars since before we knew other species existed. We have spent thousands of years learning how to destroy things." To prove her point, Chen showed footage from the human colony of New Geneva. The peaceful farms and cities that Thexmore remembered were gone. In their place were massive factories working day and night to build weapons and ships. "Every human world is now a weapons factory," Chen explained. "Our children are learning to build bombs in school. Our farmers are growing materials for explosives instead of food. Our miners are digging up metals for ship armor. You wanted a war with humanity. Now you have the full attention of 3 billion humans who want you gone." The most disturbing part was that the humans seemed to be enjoying themselves. Zelrani culture valued order and discipline. But the humans were laughing and joking even as they prepared for battle. They turned war into a game, competing to see who could destroy the most Zelrani ships. Emperor Vashtok finally received reports about what was happening to his home territory. Half of his shipbuilding capacity was gone. His supply routes were cut. And worst of all, Other species in the galaxy were beginning to question whether the Zelrani Empire was as strong as it claimed to be. "Send more fleets to support Admiral Thex Moore," he ordered. But his advisors had to tell him the truth. "Your Excellency, we have no more fleets. The humans have destroyed or captured most of our ships. The vessels that Admiral Thex Moore commands may be the largest force we have left." For the first time in his life, Emperor Vashtok felt afraid. Meanwhile, Admiral Chen was preparing for the final phase of her plan. The Zelrani fleet was trapped deep in human space, cut off from home, and surrounded by enemies who seemed to appear from nowhere. It was time to show the galaxy what happened when someone made the mistake of threatening human families. Ambassador Veltar of the Galactic Confederation called an emergency meeting. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime, the Confederation's capital world. Everyone wanted to talk about the war between humans and the Zelrani Empire. "The situation has become very serious," Veltar announced to the crowded hall. "Our intelligence reports suggest that the humans are winning this conflict." A shocked silence filled the room. The Zelrani Empire had been one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy for over 1,000 years. The idea that humans, who had only joined galactic society 150 years ago, could defeat them, seemed impossible. Representative Hive Queen Zara of the Collective spoke first. Her insect-like body clicked as she moved. "Our analysis confirms these reports. Human tactical adaptation exceeds all known parameters. They modify strategies faster than our computers can calculate responses." The machine representative known as Unit 7 added its mechanical voice to the discussion. "Probability calculations show Zelrani defeat at 73.4% and rising. Human victory methods do not match any recorded military doctrine." Ambassador Keldon of the peaceful Valderan Republic stood up. His blue skin was pale with worry. "We must stop this war immediately. The violence is spreading across entire sectors. Trade routes are being destroyed. Innocent civilians are dying." But when the Confederation tried to contact Admiral Chen to offer mediation, her response shocked everyone. Chen's face appeared on the main screen, transmitted from her flagship somewhere in the war zone. Behind her, the bridge was busy with activity as human officers worked at their stations. "Members of the Galactic Confederation," Chen said formally, "thank you for your concern about this conflict. However, humanity rejects any offer of ceasefire or negotiation." The assembly hall erupted in surprised voices. Ambassador Veltar called for order. "Admiral Chen, surely you understand that this war is causing damage across the entire galaxy. Peaceful species are being hurt by the fighting." Chen's expression did not change. "The Zelrani Empire chose to invade human space without warning or provocation. They have killed thousands of our people and destroyed our colonies. There will be no peace until they surrender completely." Representative Hive Queen Zara leaned forward. "Admiral, your species has shown remarkable military capability. But continuing this war will only bring more death. The Zelrani Empire has ruled through fear and conquest for 1,000 years," Chen replied. "They have enslaved dozens of species and destroyed countless worlds. This war will end only when they can never threaten anyone again." Ambassador Keldon tried a different approach. "Admiral, what do you want? What would make you stop fighting?" Chen smiled. But it was not a friendly expression. "We want the Zelrani Empire to understand what they have awakened. For too long, they have believed that might makes right. We will show them what real might looks like." The transmission ended, leaving the assembly in stunned silence. On a distant space station, Kethvar watched the news reports with growing desperation. He had been sending messages to Emperor Vashtok for months, trying to warn him about what would happen if the war continued. But the Emperor refused to listen to his exiled general. Finally, Kethvar managed to arrange a private communication with the Emperor. When Vashtok's face appeared on the screen, Kethvar could see that the ruler looked older and more tired than before. Your Excellency, Kethvar said urgently. You must end this war now. Order Admiral Thexmore to retreat while he still can. Emperor Vashtok's eyes flashed with anger. Retreat? The Zelrani Empire does not retreat from inferior species. They are not inferior, Kethvar shouted, losing his composure. I have been watching their attacks on our territory. They know things about warfare that we never imagined. They have been fighting wars for their entire history as a species. The Emperor waved his hand dismissively. Our scientists tell me that Admiral Thexmore's fleet still outnumbers the humans 3-1. We will win through superior numbers. Kethvar felt despair growing in his chest. Your Excellency, numbers do not matter when the enemy refuses to fight the way you expect. The humans do not follow our rules. They do not respect our traditions. They will use any weapon, pay any price, sacrifice anything to achieve victory. You speak like a coward, the Emperor replied coldly. I speak like someone who has seen what humans become when they are angry, Kethvar said. Please, Your Excellency, I am begging you. Contact Admiral Chen. Offer to negotiate. End this war before she decides to bring it to our home worlds. The Emperor's face showed surprise. Our home worlds are protected by the Great Fleet. No human force could reach them. We'd... Kethvar laughed bitterly. Your Excellency. The Great Fleet was destroyed 3 weeks ago. The humans sent unmanned ships filled with explosives. They sacrificed 200 vessels to destroy our most powerful battle group. The color drained from the Emperor's crystal skin. This was the first he had heard of the Great Fleet's destruction. His advisors had been hiding the worst news from him. That is impossible, the Emperor whispered. Nothing is impossible for humans when they decide they want it, Kethvar replied. They have already proven that they can strike anywhere in our territory. The only question is whether you will surrender with dignity or wait for them to come for you personally. Instead of listening to this advice, Emperor Vashtok made his greatest mistake. His pride would not allow him to admit defeat to a species he considered primitive. Prepare the planet-killer weapons, he ordered his military staff. If we cannot defeat the humans in battle, we will destroy their home world. Let them see what happens when they defy the Zelrani Empire. When news of this decision reached the Galactic Confederation, even the most peaceful species were shocked. Planet-killer weapons had been banned for centuries. Using them against a populated world was considered the greatest war crime possible. Ambassador Veltar sent an urgent message to both sides. The Galactic Confederation demands that the Zelrani Empire abandon any plans to use planet-killer weapons. Such actions will result in immediate intervention by all Confederation forces. But Emperor Vashtok was beyond reason. The Confederation is weak. When we finish with the humans, we will deal with any species that opposes us. Admiral Chen received reports about the planet-killer weapons within hours. Her response was swift and terrifying. All human forces. This is Admiral Chen. She broadcast to every human ship in the galaxy. The enemy has threatened to destroy Earth. This is no longer a regional conflict. This is now a war for the survival of our species. Across human space, something unprecedented happened. Every human civilian ship, every mining vessel, every exploration craft began converting itself for combat. Millions of humans who had never been soldiers volunteered to join the war effort. The galaxy was about to see what humans were truly capable of when they believed their survival was at stake. Emperor Vashtok sat on his crystal throne, watching the reports from across his empire. Everything was falling apart. Human forces had appeared in over 50 different systems simultaneously. They moved like ghosts, striking without warning and disappearing before his remaining fleets could respond. Your Excellency, his chief advisor said nervously. The humans have reached the outer systems. They are demanding the surrender of every world they encounter. And what do our governors say? the Emperor asked. The advisor's crystal skin turned pale. Most of them are surrendering, Your Excellency. The human terms are unexpected. This was true. When human forces arrived at Zelrani worlds, they did not act like conquerors. Admiral Chen had sent the same message to every planet. Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly. Continue fighting, and you will be destroyed. Choose wisely. Choose wisely. What shocked the Zelrani governors was that the humans meant it. When worlds surrendered, human forces protected them from further fighting. They provided food and medical supplies to war-damaged areas. They even allowed Zelrani civilians to keep their property and continue their lives normally. But worlds that chose to fight learned the true meaning of human warfare. The fortress world of Kethran had boasted that it could hold off any attack for years. It had massive shields, powerful weapons, and a garrison of the Empire's best soldiers. When the human fleet arrived, the garrison commander laughed at their demands for surrender. The humans responded by dropping asteroids on the planet from orbit. They had attached engines to dozens of large rocks and accelerated them to incredible speeds. When the asteroids hit Kethran's shields, the impact was like nuclear explosions. Within 6 hours, the shields failed, and the fortress was destroyed. The humans then landed troops to rescue any survivors, treating wounded Zelrani soldiers with the same care they gave their own people. This combination of total destruction followed by mercy confused every Zelrani who witnessed it. Admiral Thexmore's fleet was trapped in human space, surrounded and outnumbered. His ships were running out of fuel and supplies. When he finally tried to retreat toward Zelrani territory, he discovered that human forces had built massive defensive lines across every possible route. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving a message from Admiral Chen." Chen's face appeared on the screen one final time. "Admiral Texmore, your empire has fallen. Your homeworlds are under human control. Your emperor is cornered in his palace. I offer you one chance to surrender with honor." Texmore's pride made him refuse. "Zelrani warriors do not surrender to primitives." Chen nodded sadly. "Then you will share your emperor's fate." The final battle lasted 3 days. Human ships attacked from all directions using weapons the Zelrani had never seen before. They used gravity bombs that created artificial black holes. They launched clouds of tiny robots that ate through ship hulls like acid. They even used music as a weapon, broadcasting sounds that disrupted Zelrani nervous systems. When it was over, Admiral Thexmore's flagship drifted dead in space, its crew unconscious from sonic attacks. Human Marines boarded the ship and found Thexmore sitting in his command chair, staring at nothing. "Why?" he whispered when Admiral Chen came aboard to accept his surrender. "Why do you fight like this? Why do you turn everything into a weapon?" Chen looked at the defeated alien with something like pity. "Because when someone threatens our families, we will use whatever tools we have to protect them. Your empire never understood that." On the Zelrani homeworld, Emperor Vashtok stood in his palace watching human ships surround his planet. He had activated the planet-killer weapons, but human hackers had disabled them before they could fire. Now he faced the same choice he had given to so many other worlds over the centuries: surrender or die. Kethvar appeared in the throne room, having returned to the capital despite his exile. The Emperor looked at his old general with tired eyes. "You warned me. You told me this would happen." "Yes," Kethvar said gently. "But I take no pleasure in being right." Admiral Chen's voice echoed through the palace as her ships broadcast their final demand. "Emperor Vashtok, you have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. If you refuse, we will remove you from power and install a new government. The choice is yours." The Emperor stood slowly from his throne. "What will they do to me?" Kethvar had been monitoring human communications. "They plan to put you on trial for war crimes, but they will not execute you. Humans seemed to believe that even defeated enemies deserved to live. This was perhaps the most shocking thing about human victory. Throughout galactic history, conquered peoples expected death or slavery. But the humans offered something different. A chance to join their new order as equals. When Emperor Vostok finally surrendered, Admiral Chen addressed the entire galaxy through the Confederation's communication network. "People of all species," she began. "The Zelrani Empire is defeated. But humanity does not seek to replace one tyranny with another. We offer every world, in the former empire, a choice." The terms were simple. Any planet could join the new human-led Galactic Council as an equal member. They would keep their local governments and cultures. In exchange, they would contribute to a common defense force and agree to peaceful resolution of disputes. Worlds that chose independence would be protected but would not have voting rights in galactic decisions. And any species that chose aggression against others would face the same fate as the Zelrani Empire. Most surprisingly of all, humans offered full citizenship to any Zelrani who wanted it, including former soldiers who had fought against them. 5 years later, Keth Var served as an advisor to the new Galactic Council. He worked with Admiral Chen, who had become the supreme commander of the United Galactic Defense Forces. The galaxy was more peaceful than it had been in centuries. "Do you ever regret it?" Keth Var asked Chen one day, as they reviewed reports from across their territory. "Regret what?" Chen replied, looking up from her work. "The war. All the death. The destruction of the Empire." Chen was quiet for a long moment. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret every life that was lost, human and Zelrani alike. But I do not regret protecting my people." She pointed to a report about new schools being built on former Zelrani worlds, where children of different species learned together. "The Empire ruled through fear for 1,000 years. We are building something better." Keth Var nodded. He had learned that humans were not naturally violent, despite their skill at warfare. They preferred peace, but they were willing to fight when fighting was the only choice left. In her private office, Chen kept a memorial wall with the names of every human who had died in the war. Next to it was another list, the names of Zelrani soldiers and civilians who had been killed. She read both lists every day to remind herself of the cost of conflict. At the bottom of both memorials was an inscription in human writing. "The price of peace is eternal vigilance. The price of freedom is sometimes war. The price of both is always too high." The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans could be peaceful neighbors and generous friends, but they could also be the most dangerous enemies anyone could imagine. And everyone agreed that it was much better to have them as friends.